Spider-Man Brand New Day first reviews. Is this Tom Holland's best Spider-Man movie yet? Warning: this video is spoiler light and based on the first wave of critic and premiere reactions to Spider-Man Brand New Day. While we'll mention a few story elements that reviewers have discussed, we'll avoid major plot twists and ending spoilers. Now, let's begin. For nearly 5 years, one question has followed Tom Holland's Spider-Man. How do you make a movie that can possibly follow No Way Home? That film wasn't just another superhero movie. It became a global event. It reunited 3 generations of Spider-Men, brought back iconic villains, and ended with Peter Parker making the greatest sacrifice of his life. So, expectations for Spider-Man Brand New Day were unbelievably high. Many fans wondered if Marvel could ever top No Way Home. Well, the first reviews are finally here. And while critics aren't necessarily saying it's bigger than No Way Home, many are saying something even more surprising. This might be Tom Holland's best Spider-Man performance yet. Let's break down why. Critics love the new direction. One thing almost every review agrees on is that Brand New Day feels very different from the previous MCU Spider-Man movies. Instead of another multiverse adventure filled with cameos and universe-ending stakes, Marvel brings Peter Parker back to street-level New York. This time, the story focuses on Peter himself. He's no longer the teenager trying to impress Tony Stark. He's not surrounded by the Avengers. He's simply Spider-Man, protecting New York one day at a time while dealing with the emotional consequences of No Way Home. Reviewers describe the movie as more mature, more grounded, and far more character-driven than many expected. Tom Holland's best performance? If there's one thing critics keep repeating, it's this: Tom Holland has never been better. Multiple early reactions describe this as his strongest performance since becoming Spider-Man. Instead of relying on huge action sequences or constant jokes, Holland gets to explore Peter Parker's loneliness, grief, responsibility, and emotional growth. Reviewers say this version of Peter finally feels like the classic comic book Spider-Man, someone who continues helping people despite carrying enormous personal pain. Some critics have even called it Holland's most emotionally honest performance in the role. Destin Daniel Cretton brings fresh energy. Another name receiving a lot of praise is director Destin Daniel Cretton. After directing Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, many fans wondered what his version of Spider-Man would look like. According to critics, the answer is surprisingly refreshing. The action reportedly feels faster and more dynamic. The web-swinging sequences are being praised for capturing the joy of watching Spider-Man move through New York. Several reviews even mention that the film includes visual moments inspired by classic Spider-Man comic panels, making it feel like the comics have come to life. The emotional story is winning people over. Perhaps the biggest surprise isn't the action, it's the emotion. Brand New Day begins several years after the events of No Way Home, where the world forgot Peter Parker ever existed. Instead of reversing that sacrifice, Marvel reportedly embraces it. Peter is still alone. He's still carrying that burden. And the movie explores what it means to keep being a hero when nobody even knows who you are. Critics say this emotional focus gives the film a completely different tone from earlier Spider-Man movies and helps separate it from the larger MCU formula. Supporting cast receives high praise. Tom Holland isn't the only actor receiving attention. Early reactions highlight Sadie Sink as one of the movie's biggest surprises. Although Marvel kept her character secret throughout the marketing campaign, critics describe her performance as emotionally devastating and one of the film's standout elements. Jon Bernthal's return as the Punisher is also generating excitement. Rather than feeling like a cameo, reviewers say Frank Castle becomes one of Peter Parker's most important relationships in the movie. The contrast between Spider-Man's optimism and Punisher's brutal approach creates some of the film's strongest dramatic scenes. Even Zendaya receives praise despite having a smaller role than previous films, with critics saying she brings emotional depth whenever she appears on screen. Not every review is perfect. Of course, not every critic believes the movie is flawless. Some reviews mention that the film occasionally feels like it's setting up future MCU stories instead of functioning as a completely standalone adventure. Others feel the runtime is slightly too long. A few critics also think some Marvel formula elements remain, even though the movie tries to tell a more grounded story. Still, even many of the more mixed reviews praise Tom Holland's performance and the film's emotional core. Is it better than No Way Home? This is probably the biggest question fans are asking, and the answer depends on what you're looking for. If you loved No Way Home because of the multiverse, nostalgia, and huge surprises, you may still consider it the bigger event movie. But if you've always wanted a Spider-Man story that's more personal, emotional, and focused on Peter Parker rather than giant crossover moments, many critics believe Brand New Day delivers exactly that. Instead of trying to outdo No Way Home, Marvel tells a different kind of Spider-Man story. And according to the first reviews, that decision pays off. Early verdict. So, is Spider-Man Brand New Day Tom Holland's best Spider-Man movie? Based on the first wave of reviews, many critics certainly think so. The movie is being praised for its emotional storytelling, grounded approach, confident direction, memorable supporting performances, and what many are calling Tom Holland's finest performance as Peter Parker. That doesn't mean every reviewer agrees it's the greatest Spider-Man movie ever made. But there seems to be a strong consensus that Brand New Day successfully reinvents Peter Parker after No Way Home, while proving that Spider-Man doesn't need the multiverse to tell a compelling story. Why this could be the start of a new Spider-Man era. There's one thing that keeps coming up in these early reviews, and it might be the most exciting takeaway of all. Many critics believe Brand New Day doesn't just succeed as a sequel, it successfully redefines what Spider-Man movies in the MCU can be. For years, Peter Parker was closely tied to Iron Man, the Avengers, and massive multiverse events. Those stories were entertaining, but they often made Spider-Man feel like part of a much bigger machine. This movie changes that. Instead of asking how Spider-Man fits into the MCU, Brand New Day asks a much simpler question. Who is Peter Parker when nobody is watching? Without billionaire mentors, without magical spells to save him, without Earth's mightiest heroes standing beside him? The answer, according to many reviewers, is the Spider-Man fans have been waiting to see for years. A hero who doesn't need a world-ending threat to prove his worth. Someone who saves ordinary people because it's simply the right thing to do. And that's exactly why so many first reactions describe this as a return to the heart of Spider-Man. If Marvel continues building on this more grounded, character-driven approach, Brand New Day may not just be remembered as another Spider-Man sequel. It could be remembered as the movie that launched an entirely new era for Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Final thoughts. After years of waiting, it looks like Marvel may have achieved something incredibly difficult. Instead of trying to repeat the magic of No Way Home, they chose to move Peter Parker forward. A more experienced Spider-Man. A more emotionally mature Peter. And a story that reminds audiences why this character has remained one of Marvel's greatest heroes for more than 60 years. Whether Brand New Day becomes your favorite Spider-Man movie is something only you can decide after watching it. But one thing is already clear. Tom Holland's Spider-Man has entered an exciting new chapter. What do you think? Do you believe Spider-Man, Brand New Day, will become Tom Holland's best Spider-Man movie? Or do you think No Way Home will always be the one to beat? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications for more Spider-Man, Marvel, movie reviews, ending explained videos, hidden details, Easter eggs, and the latest entertainment news. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.